working at LLS really to make someday today. No, those aren't just words, but we have to make someday today for patients. And that means, someone said it, that we have to have the patient's voice in this discussion. It's critical. We have to look at different economic models. We have to define the scope of the cost, and we have to think about value a lot more holistically. So I'm glad we're having this discussion. It's been critical for us.
Really sort of following up what you're saying is we have to bring the patient voice from at the moment of drug development, right? And what's important, what are those outcomes that are important to patients, and at each step along the way. And I think the other thing that we're seeing here is that maybe one of the biggest innovations that we're seeing people live living much longer. And so how do we do a better job in meeting the needs as, in that sort of chronic model of care? And so I think that we have a beautiful future ahead for people, right? Living longer, but new challenges. How do you?
It's a really difficult discussion, this whole idea of value and cost. But I think this is the starting point. Having dialogues like this involving people from multiple parties, multiple perspectives. And I think it has to be a productive conversation, because we need to look for alternative models for financing. We need to look at solutions that take a more holistic view, because I think that we're going to see a lot of change in the near term. But before we can incite change, we also need to look for more transparency, common understanding, really look at what the numbers are, because you'll hear varying numbers on the cost of development, or on the you'll hear different numbers on the cost of care. It's really difficult as a patient to find out how much care costs. And so I think until you can see it, you can't manage it. If you can't manage it, you can't change it.
I just think it's critically important for us to address the issue of quality cancer care in the United States. I think if we pursue this as our goal, we'll be able to identify solutions relative to value, cost, and access, and the other challenges that we've discussed here this morning.
And Bob, you have the last word here.
Thank you. 2 years ago, I met Lynn Jacoby, who was diagnosed with an advanced form of pancreatic cancer. She was given 2 months to live by her physician, and as Lynn said, she accepted the diagnosis, but not the prognosis. She was able to enter into a clinical trial, which extended her life for 2 years. Within that time, she was married, was an advocate for patients, and just a great and close friend. She died, unfortunately, last year, 2 weeks before she was going to get her genome sequenced, and for another effort at targeted therapy. So what I feel is that every moment of every day of every life is precious, and we can never let that be separated from anything that we say or do today or going forward.